Leverage Power BI, predictive analytics to improve your decision making. Hi, my name is Andy Nathan. I'm a senior sales partner with Beyond Internet. I'm joined here today by Priyanshu Ojha, who's our senior software engineer, and Abhishek Kushwa, who's our senior technical lead. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi
Hello
all, thanks
everyone.
Andy.
Hello everyone.
Thank
Thank you, Andy.
you both. And also thank you everyone who's attending today. We're really excited to be able to share with you more about how to use Power BI and predictive analytics together. To help us get started, we just want to ask a quick question. Does your organization have a business intelligence tool that you're using right now to gather data? Just let us know, yes, no, or you're not sure. And I know that some people are just coming in, that's fine. Just trying to get an idea of where people are at right now. So, okay. See some answers are still coming in. I'm just gonna give it about another 10, 15 seconds. Okay. It's a good mix of answers. So it looks like about half of the people in the crowd are saying yes. So, and then the rest are not sure or no. So that's okay. I think I ended the poll here. Just want to double check. Yeah. And so what we're going to talk about today is going to be discussing how to use business intelligence, whether you do have some type of solution right now, like Power BI or another third-party tool. That's okay. If you don't, that's fine. We're completely fine with being able to help you wherever you're at in the process. And the agenda today that we'll cover will be something that will help everyone, no matter what phase that you're in install, or I should say, implementing predictive analytics. Before we get into that, we're going to give a brief introduction to who we are at Beyond Internet, so you have an idea of where we're coming from and how we could be your partners in this journey. Second, once we've done that, we're going to dive into the basics and benefits of predictive analytics. That'll be about 7 minutes. And after that, we're going to spend about 5 minutes talking about different predictive analytics models. Specifically, we're going to be talking a lot about the different predictive analytics models for Power BI as well, and diving into that a little bit deeper and using Power BI as a tool to help with predictive analytics. In addition to that, we're also going to be talking about different business application use cases. We're going to focus on how you could then apply using the predictive analytics tools that we're talking about by showing you how 4 different companies in 4 different industries have used Power BI in their organization. Fifth, Priyanshu will then lead a live applications demo where he's going to show you step by step how you could take some of your data from like an Excel spreadsheet or a different application and turn it into a Power BI predictive analytics model. Finally, the sixth item that we're going to cover, we're going to do a live Q&A as well. And keep in mind, as we're doing the live Q&A, that if you have questions throughout, we're going to mention those at the end. So definitely don't feel shy about asking questions as we go through. Abhishek is monitoring the Q&A here on Zoom, and we will answer those at the end of the webinar. With that said, let's talk about number 1. Who are we? Beyond Internet is a division of Beyond Key. Beyond Key provides enterprise applications and extended team services, including mobile, AI, machine learning, business intelligence, modern data warehouse, React Mean, and cloud services. Obviously, a lot of what we're going to be talking about today for BI, business intelligence, has a large component in Power BI. Also, the AI and machine learning plays a huge role in the predictive analytics that we're going to discuss. In addition to that, we have 2 different divisions underneath Beyond Key. The first one is Beyond Internet, which provides Microsoft 365 services and products, including SharePoint, Power Platform, Dynamics 365, and Azure. Power BI is part of the Power Platform, so keep that in mind. The other division is Beyond Voice. Beyond Voice provides voice tech solutions, including a bot framework, voice transcription, NLP, and behavioral analysis. As an organization, we have a team of over 225 strong and growing. With over 15 plus years of software development and solution experience, we're fortunate enough to work with over 200 plus clients globally on an ongoing basis. For Beyond Internet specifically, we're recognized globally as one of the top 5 admin providers on the Microsoft App Source. And we're actually a Microsoft Gold partner with capabilities in application development, application integration, and data analytics. We're also a Microsoft Silver partner with capabilities in data platform and data center. We were certified for the 3rd year in a row as a great place to work. We also last year were fortunate enough to win the Gold 2021 Stevie Award winner for Company of the Year from International Business Awards. And we also won the Titan Gold 2021 IT Service Provider of the Year. We've also been ranked by Best in Biz as one of the most customer-friendly companies of the year. I mentioned earlier that we work with over 200 companies on a global basis. We serve customers in the nonprofit, insurance, retail, construction, finance, energy, automotive, manufacturing, healthcare, real estate, logistics, and facility management industries. That's just a sampling of some of the industries that we do work with. Here are just some of the clients that we're working with right now around the globe. With that said, I'm about to dive into predictive analytics. Before I do, I just want to emphasize one more time, if you have questions, please ask. Let us know how we could help you out. Use the Zoom Q&A as we go throughout this webinar and put your questions in there. Abhishek will be monitoring. And what we generally like to do is we'll answer those questions as you're going through, because we want to make sure that you don't miss anything, or if you have any clarification questions, we get to them on time. But also at the end of the webinar, we're going to repeat that. Now, for privacy purposes, we make sure we don't include your name or company information or anything relevant, but we will share with people the general scenario. Additionally, we find that by doing this once during the webinar in writing and also at the end verbally, you get two different ways of answers that helps people with different learning styles get the right information. And finally, if you have a question about something, there's a good chance other people do as well. And we want to make sure everyone has the right information at the end of the day. With that said, let's dive into what is Power BI and predictive analytics. To start off, let's talk about predictive analytics. So as you can see here, predictive analytics helps organizations create actionable insights. The idea here is that you're forecasting the future using historical data. So take a look at the screenshot here on the right side. You can see that this is for an HR department. And what this HR department is doing is they're trying to understand their trends in terms of who they're hiring and, unfortunately, who they're letting go or who's leaving the organization. And in this case, you could see for the hired employees per year, they have information going back about 7 or 8 years now to 2015. And by looking at this information, you're able to start stacking the information about who they've hired in the past and start getting trends on how many employees they might hire this year. And that's really what we're talking about, using the data in your organization right now to help your organization make better decisions in the future by understanding what's possibly going to happen. That's predictive analytics. And using Power BI allows you a data visualization tool that has the business analytics capability. Now, Power BI is also a Microsoft-based organization. That's one of the reasons why it's used by over 90,000 organizations in over 185 countries around the world. By combining this amazing forecasting tool with Power BI, you're getting data visualization and predictive analytics to help your organization do a lot more with what they're doing with their data right now. So to understand predictive analytics, I just want to go a little bit further in depth. There are 3 different types of analytics that you'll find when you're taking a look at a business intelligence solution. The first one is descriptive analytics. As the name suggests, it's what happened in the past. So think of an organization. Last year, they had $1 million in revenue. So if they had $1 million in revenue last year, that's what happened already. At that point, you want to start taking a look at predictive analytics. What could happen in the organization now? We had $1 million in revenue last year. Now we predict we're going to have $2 million in this year. So if we understand that, then we start taking a look at, okay, wait, now that we understand what happened, what we think is going to happen, how can we make it better? And that's where prescriptive analytics comes in. And what you'll find is that if you could start understanding what happened in the past and what you think is going to happen in the future, that's where you could really start to understand how to make it better. This is, again, we're talking about decision-making for leaders and for people throughout the organization. How do you make everything better? And you do that by having the right information to make the decisions that you need. And this is really where predictive analytics comes in, because it's at the core of these 2 items. It's at the past, the present, and the future to help you make those better decisions. And Power BI is such a value, So let me phrase this. So why exactly is predictive analytics so important when we talk about it in the context of data? Well, the fact is that predictive analytics is taking a look. There's over 2.5 quintillion bytes of data that are generated every day. To put this in perspective, 1 million is a 1 followed by 6 zeros. 2.5 quintillion is 2.5 followed by 70 zeros. The scope of what we're creating in terms of data right now is the most we've ever had in human history. In fact, 90% of all data that has ever been created in the history of mankind has been created in the past 2 to 3 years. We're creating data at a rapid pace that we've never done it before. And at the same time that we're creating this data, a lot of it's unstructured. So think of it this way. If your organization has a spreadsheet with all this information about everything that your organization does, but they don't put it into a useful form that will help the organization, how will you get any benefit out of it? And that's where predictive analytics comes in. Leaders want the predictive analytics capabilities because what it's doing is it's turning that unstructured data and this massive amounts of data that we're generating into something visual. And it tells a story of how your organization is doing. Again, remember, descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. And what we're really looking at is how do we understand how to make our future better? And this is where it comes together with predictive analytics. Now, Power BI takes predictive analytics and it puts it into an easy to use pre-built dashboard and report. And these pre-built dashboards and report visualize the data, making it easy to understand and comprehend. At the same time, by making this easier, making this a lot more usable, you're optimizing your processes and performances. So if you've ever had fun with spreadsheets, you know that trying to analyze the data and trying to go through all that information, it takes a ton of time. By having everything available to you in Power BI, you're saving time, which means you can analyze things faster and you can move faster and act on those ideas that much quicker. So you're optimizing those processes and performance because you have simplified data. Again, it all comes back to the data. How do you want to turn that data into something that it's usable? Because the more usable that data is, the better the educated decisions you're going to be able to make in your organization. And that's really at the core of what we're talking about here for predictive analytics and Power BI, making better decisions with the data that you have in a visual format that's easy to understand. Keep in mind that first screenshot I showed you where you're trying to understand the different hires over time. It's right there in front of you in a visual format. You don't have to spend hours looking at that. You look at that for 30 seconds, you have an idea of where the organization's going. So with this said, how do we then start to use predictive analytics in Power BI? There are 3 different ways that we're going to talk about using predictive analytics in Power BI. The main one that we're going to be focusing on today is an automated AI machine learning. Automated AI ML. AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning. AI and machine learning are very popular topics. So more than likely people have heard about this before. And so whether it's sci-fi, you're talking about hearing it in business references, there's a lot of discussion about AI and machine learning nowadays. What we're really talking about in this case for automated AI and machine learning is the ability to smartly learn from your data and grow from it so you make better and better decisions. That's it. And we're using an automated system to do this. The second type of way to use predictive analytics in Power BI is through a DAX language. Now, DAX is a Python-based code, and essentially what you're using is a library that has a bunch of different functions, operators, and calculations and algorithms to help you use predictive analytics in a clean and easy way. The final way to use predictive analytics in Power BI is through line chart with forecasting. As the name suggests, you're talking about a linear graph, like you think about a linear graph. It takes a look at a line, but it then starts to predict what happens in the future. Again, think about the idea that we're talking about before when you think about revenue. So if last year you had 1 million, this year you have 2 million, and next year you have 3 million, or you're hoping to get 3 million, you're starting to forecast that with a line chart. And this is great for predicting things on a linear basis. So focusing more on AI and machine learning. When Priyanshu starts to go through everything in the demo, he's going to be discussing this more in depth. But I want to just give you some basic terms and some ideas of what we're talking about. So keep in mind, there's three ways of using, or three different models of using predictive analytics in Power BI. There's the AI machine learning, there's the DAX, and then there's the line chart. Inside of AI, there are three different ways that you could use AI. So I know this might be a little confusing, so I'm sorry if I'm spelling this out a little bit for those of you who have used this before. But for those of you who are new to this, this is probably going to be the most technical I get into in terms of what we're talking about today. So when you have three different models of using AI, what we're talking about is there's the first model, which is a binary model. So very simple. If you are looking to get yes, no answers, which is a traditional binary, you can put ones and zeros, 1 for yes, 0 for no. So is this person a prospect at my organization? 1 yes, 0 no. That's a binary model. And what you're really doing is you're giving a simple way for the computer to learn who's a prospect and who's not a prospect. If you want to develop if you want to advance that idea, that's when you're going to start taking a look at classification. So think about classification. If you do tasks in your organization, I always love the book Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy talks about how take care of the biggest task that you have every day first. This is your primary task. And if you finish only that every day, you'll be happy with what you're doing. And in this case, what we're talking about with classification is think about the things that are high level, mid level, and low level. And if you're thinking about different tasks, you're classifying those tasks. If you could then display that on a Power BI dashboard, what you're really doing is you're giving a more advanced model than binary, because binary is only 2 items. Classification can have 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, however many items you're looking to classify. But if you think about that, if you're classifying things as a low, high, or medium task, or maybe your organization likes to use 1, 2, or 3 in terms of the levels, or A, B, C. It doesn't matter. The point is that you're trying to classify things to make it easier for you to understand, to make better decisions. The final the final way that you could use an AI machine learning model is through a regression model. Regression is very similar to the line chart method that we just discussed. The only difference between the line chart and the regression model is the fact that regression model, it uses AI and machine learning to automate some of this process and make it a little bit easier. So it's part of the reason why we're using AI and machine learning. We'd like to make things a little bit easier for people, and regression helps accomplish that goal. And it can also compare multiple items at the same time in a line chart. So again, this is the 3 different ways you could use AI and machine learning in Power BI. So if you want to start applying these different AI machine learning models on predictive analytics, here's the process that you'll normally have to go through. And if this seems like a lot, let us know. We could help you with this and we can walk you through this. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start to create and train your model. Let's step back and think about an ordinary sales organization. So this organization, maybe they have 1,000 clients that they work with in the last 3 years, and they have all the sales data in their CRM, whether that's HubSpot, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics 365, whatever they're using, there's some type of CRM that they're using, and they put all this information into their CRM. At this point, they want to start creating and training a model based on the data that they have. So think about all the information that you have from previous prospects and previous clients. You probably have their basic contact information, but you probably also have their job title. If you're B2B, for example, you want to know what their job titles are. You want to know what type of company they work for, what industry. If you're working in a retail environment, maybe you want to know their demographic information, male or female, age range. Maybe they're into different types of preferences, like maybe they like gaming or maybe they like sports. Understanding this type of information that you've recorded in your CRM can be invaluable when you're taking a look at a predictive analytics model. Because what you're going to start doing is you're going to start categorizing and training the data. And by training the data, what will start happening is you start selecting a group of data in there. So like if you have 1,000,000 data points, maybe you take 10,000 of those data points and you start training the data to understand how to read your information in your data. And you start choosing a model type. Think about AI, machine learning, but also think about like regression, binary. So if you want to take a look at your past clients, let's say you're in a retail environment and you work with gamers and people who use sports. Well, great. Now we know that you can maybe break down those two models and do maybe a binary model and say one is gamers and two is sports people. So that way you have an idea of who they are. If you need to break that down even further, maybe you do a classification model type. At this point, you start training your model. You're putting all the information together and you're training it to be accurate and start understanding how to use the information more and make it more accessible to Power BI so you can start to put it in the information. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of information, but what you're really doing is you're setting yourself up so that at that point you could start taking a look at the information and start analyzing it. And what you'll notice is the first thing you do is you'll probably need to tweak the information, because most of the time when we start putting information into Power BI, we think it's what we want, but then we take a look at it and we realize, no, we have to change this, or maybe this needs to be iterated and retrained. So we look for different information. And the better you train that model, the better off you're going to be with your organization. In addition to that, as you continue to generate new sales data, so if your organization gets 100 new clients every month, maybe you're entering that information into your model and you're continuously improving the model and understanding exactly what you need to do in your organization. Furthermore, you could then apply that data model to Power BI. And this is when you start to use predictive analytics to help improving your sales decisions. So again, if you start taking a look at your model and maybe you're looking at where do our clients come from? By looking at all this information, maybe in the past you had to go through a long spreadsheet or you had to download your CRM information to see what was going on. Now you put everything into Power BI and in seconds it could say, hey, look, here's where our clients have come from in the past. Here's where we think they're going to go moving forward. And it starts to predict that so you can start making better decisions where to find clients and how to find new clients as well, and also who you should target. What company doesn't want that information to get an advantage over their competitors? So with that, we've talked about one different way of using the sales data. I'm curious to know, obviously there's different ways of using it. There's different departments that have value in using predictive analytics. How do you plan on using predictive analytics for your organization? Are you looking at for finance, for human resources, sales, marketing, operations, shipping, R&D, IT, tech? I think I forgot to put other in there, but let us know. I mean, where are you looking to do? What would be your main goal in using predictive analytics? I'm going to give another 10, 15 seconds because I see people are still answering. That's awesome. Thank you. It's a pretty good mix of answers. Wow. I'm surprised at how balanced it is. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. Looks like I'm going to just share the results real quick. So this is pretty interesting. So from what I could see here, it looks like a lot of people answered, not everyone, but it looks like it's pretty balanced. 20% want finance, 10% human resources, 20% sales, 20% marketing, 30% operations. Wow, that's a pretty across the board. It looks like everyone's looking to use it for different purposes. That's awesome. And that's something that we could definitely help with. And we like to encourage that. In terms of the information here, there's definitely some use cases that we're going to be talking about that will be useful for everyone here. So I'm going to switch over to the different use cases, and this will lead us into the demo as well. So switching to number 4, different use cases. So as I mentioned, we have 4 different use cases that we're going to talk about in 4 different industries, talking about different uses for these for predictive analytics. The first use case is for a healthcare nonprofit in Los Angeles. This healthcare nonprofit wanted to focus on physician availability. And what they were looking at was a number of different systems that they had. So they had an EHR, which is an electronic health record system where they had all the patient information. They had a project management system for managing different projects that needed to happen and making sure everything was working on a regular basis. They also had a different pharmacy system for when people would be available for for drugs and other things like that. And the problem was it was all fractured. It wasn't on the same reporting system. And because they had to make sure they had enough physicians available, as you can imagine, like every other organization in this country right now, making sure you have enough people in your organization is a huge issue. So what we did was we accessed Power BI and we took all this information, all this raw data from patients and all the information from the physicians, and we started to leverage that, the AI and machine learning, to model patient data. And what that did was it helped the decision makers at the nonprofit predict when the patients were visiting the organization and which locations, and then how many physicians were needed on staff to ensure that you had the optimal number of patients to physicians, and making sure that you weren't like wasting time for physicians as well. So if you had a physician there for 8 hours, you want to make sure that they get 8 hours of patient visits if you can. So leveraging this by using AI and machine learning helped us model this so we can make sure that the right physicians were available for the right patients at the right locations. The second use case we have is for an insurance company in Florida. Now, this company was looking to reduce policyholder churn, and this works for across multiple industries, but like every company, they wanted to make sure their current customers stayed customers. It's a huge deal right now. A lot of organizations, especially insurance companies, are having trouble because insurance companies mostly offer similar products. If you're offering life insurance or you're offering personal liability insurance, there's a good chance someone else is offering a similar product to what you're offering right now as well. So how do you keep those policyholders in your organization? And the way you do that is by understanding what they're looking for. And the best way to do that is to combine information from your CRM, your payment solutions, your support ticketing systems, and put it all in one central location to create a Power BI dashboard. And in this Power BI dashboard, we were able to start predicting growth rates and discover how to retain policyholders in the future. So for example, when you're working with an organization and you want to start predicting who's leaving and who's not, taking a look at the information that they might have given as a prospect and then comparing to what happens in their ticket support system might give you an idea of who might not be happy in the organization. And the more information we have on this, the more we're able to solve the problem of reducing policyholder churn. The third use case is for a food distributor in the United Kingdom. And this organization wanted to reduce food waste. This is a huge operation challenge. Think about distribution and shipping. And think about the fact that if you're a distributor, you're sending food to different locations. So they were sending it out to grocery stores and to restaurants. And the challenge is that with the pandemic, it was hard to predict the deliveries. And if you make $1,000 from delivering $1,000 worth of food and $500 of it goes to waste, you just reduced your profit margin. Probably you're losing money as well at that point. So to help them with that, what we did was we helped them predict the right amount of food that they needed to distribute to keep in line with regulations and stay in based on historical data. So for example, if they were sending out food and maybe it had to go overseas, or maybe they had to go to a different part of the country, we knew exactly what to do based on the regulations, based on what they had done in the past to ensure that they reduced and minimized their food wastage. It's not possible to 100% do that because, food is food and you can't always predict if it's going to go bad or not. But if you can minimize that, what you're doing is you're sending more food out to your customers and you're also increasing your profits because you're not wasting that time spending all that money on trucking and employees and all the shipping costs and everything else involved as well. And that's how we help them increase their profits, by reducing that food waste. The fourth and final use case that we're going to talk about today is for a construction contractor here in the US. Now, this organization had a lot of challenges with employees. Contractors are very tough to keep right now. There's so much demand, especially when we take a look at more competitive fields like electricians, plumbers, and even carpenters. There's a lot of demand on that right now in the industry, especially last year with all the build that was going on. So what's happening is they wanted to retain their employees, and they wanted to start taking a look at their information, like their headcounts, terminations, job openings across different locations that they had around the country. So what we did was we used Power BI to help them forecast the best practices to keep their employees, their productive employees in the organization. By reducing this turnover, we were able to maximize profit and productivity. And think about this. If you have an experienced electrician and you're afraid they're going to leave the organization and go somewhere else, what do you need to do to keep them there? What information would be helpful to know ahead of time so you keep them happy? And by taking a look at the information that you have in the past and you're able to forecast that, you take a look at the linear graphs that are here, you're predicting the trends. So if you want to take a look at the terminations by month, you see here on the top right-hand corner of this graph, it shows you how many people were hired in different, or how many people left the organization in different years, and what do they predict it will look like in the future. And that's really what we're looking to do here with this organization, is helping them understand where they're at and giving them a trend, because the more productive employees, the more electricians, plumbers, carpenters, and other employees that they keep on board, the better off they're going to do, because those employees know what to do and they will finish the job faster. If you've ever done a home remodel, you understand what I'm talking about. It takes forever for you to do something, but a contractor comes in and boom, they do it in like 2 hours and you think it's magic. And that's really what you're seeing here. Productive, experienced employees produce more, require less training, and help the organization grow faster. So with that, we've covered a lot of ground in terms of predictive analytics and Power BI. We've talked about what predictive analytics is. We've talked about what Power BI is. We've talked about the benefits of both. And we've talked about the different models that you have using predictive analytics and Power BI. What we're going to do right now, and along with the different use cases, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to switch over to Priyanshu, and he's going to take over and he's going to show the demo. Priyanshu, you ready?
Thank you, Andy. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen first.
Thanks. Don't see your screen just yet.
1 second.
Oh.
Are you able to see?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So predictive analysis is now an important part of growing our business, because having predictive data allows you to prepare better for the future. So Power BI offers 3 ways to predicting values. That is forecast, programming in DAX, and automatic machine learning models. Before I demonstrate these methods, I will show you the data source that I use to predict values from these methods. So this is my data source, which I have created into the Excel format. This is the sales data, which I have created as a dummy. As you see, the latest sales date is 14 March 2022. When you click on US dollars, so this is the latest date here, and I'm use this data to predicting values, to demonstrate the predicting values through the methods. So first, I'm going to show how to predict values using forecast feature of visuals. So let's see the report. This is the forecast report, which I have created by the sales data. Here I have created 2 visuals, which represents the sales revenue as well as the number of customers by the timeline. So I have used 12 months of forecast to predict for getting the predicted values. So if you so this is the 12 months forecast values, which represents the predictive value as well. So when you get the number of predicting values of 2022 May, so just hover on that particular point and you get the forecast value, which is predicting values of sales revenue. So this is it. And similarly to the customer visuals, just hover on this point and you get the forecast value for the near future. That means when you get the predicting value according, just hovering it and you get the predicted value actually. So this is a way to get the predicting values with the forecast report. Here you can filter out your data. So the predicting values or forecast values has been changed according to your filters data. Let's see, when you select the date range to this way, so all the forecast value has been changed. And if you want to choose a one salesperson, so it will also change the predicting values according to filters data. So this is it. This is a way to get the predicting values through the forecast. Here is the one limitations to do the forecast to get the predicting values here. That is, your data should be appropriate time source data, means you have a proper time source data. If you have, then you can use the forecast for the predicted values. Now I'm going to show the second way, which is through the programming index, RScript or Python. I have used the same data set, that is sales data, to predict the days until go, means to find the days to fulfill your target. Here I create a slicer to fix the goal, means the number of customers you get in the future. So if you select the fix the target, so it will gives you the information how many times or how many days you have consumed for fulfill the target. So similarly, if you change the data from the date slicer here, so days automatically changed with the DAX programming. So it also depends on the filtered data. If you want to filter out with another uh, another slicer or another data, so you can easily find out. And days until goal means the DAX programming language which used to predict values. This has been changed according to the filters data. So this is the way to find the predicting values through the DAX. And one more fact for the DAX programming to predict the data, this is uh, the DAX is the way of this prediction is time consuming and difficult to achieve high accuracy. This is the fact for the DAX. Actually, we spend a lot of time to prepare the formulas or keep the programming in it to get the results. So this is the one limitation. Not the limitation, is the fact of the DAX programming. And the last one is get the predicted values from the automatic machine learning models. So before I'm moving it, I would like to share some information about it. So as you Power BI provided three models, uh, that is binary model, classification model, regression model to predict the data. So binary model, if you have uh, binary data to predict the values, which means there is only two values, then Power BI recommends the binary model. For example, if you want to predict whether your experiment will be liked or disliked, or if you have a policy business, then how many policies will be cancelled or accepted. In this case, Power BI recommends the binary model to predict the data. Second is classification model. If you have multiple values to predict your data, then Power BI recommends the classification model. For example, if you want to predict sell according to your product price range, that is low, high, medium, and very high, then Power BI recommends the classification model. And the last is regression model. If you have a numeric values to predict your model, then uh, Power BI recommends the regression model. For example, if you want to predict attrition rate of your company, then Power BI recommends the regression model. So you can predict this kind of data according to your requirement. So now I'm showing the last one, which is through the machine learning model. So I have choose the regression model to predict the attrition rate to get the termination number into my reports. So firstly, I'm showing you the data source. I have choose the termination data where, so this is the terminated employees data. So as you see here, the termination date is, the latest termination date is 14 March 2022. So this data I pulled to the Power BI model, and according to my requirements, I put that data into the regression model and prepared data accordingly. And after that, uh, regression model process it internally and uh, give me a prepared data to with the predictive values. So I pulled that data flow into my Power BI desktop report and create some visuals or create a report according to the final data source. So this is the report, and this is the prepared data model which regression model generated. So here I have again create two visuals. First is actual terminations versus predicted terminations by the timeline. So it relieves you how accurate your prediction data. So suppose that the actual termination is 40 in January quarter 1 2021. So predicted value is 44. It's uh, kind of small difference. So when you go through the timeline, so actual termination and predicted termination has a small margin. So you have confidence that if you have future data for the prediction, so you get the right number. So if you have predicted number for the termination in quarter 3 July or quarter 4, so you can plan accordingly for the stop terminations or create new hiring plans accordingly. So you can plan better if you have the accurate predictive numbers. And this is the accurate predictive numbers. So you believe from the past, uh, as you see here, the actual predictions, the actual terminations, and the predicted terminations. So it will definitely help you to making plans better future for your organization. And second graph represents predicted terminations by the timeline, but the predicted terminations categorized by the tenure groups. Suppose that if you want to focus a particular group, which happen, which more terminations happen, so you can focus on that particular group and plan accordingly. If you look this data, if you, in August, the predictive data is 5 to 10 years tenure employees. So the chances will be high for this group which have 5 to 10 years experience. So you have to focus on that groups of employees and plan accordingly to stop their terminations or hiring uh, according this group for the new people. So your work is not affecting. So that is the benefit for the future termination predicted values through this model. So it also depend on the filtered data. If you filtered values from here, so you can easily get the different values for the prediction. So to avail this feature, the limitations here, to avail this feature, to use these three models of Power BI, which Power BI provided, you have to have a premium per user license. This is the limitations to get this model's predictive values. So this is from my side. Thank you, Andy. Over to you.
Okay. Here, if you're looking to get more information about predictive analytics and you're just not sure what to do next, let us know how we could help. We have a lot of experience with using predictive analytics and Power BI together. We could set up a free 1-hour consultation with our team if you're looking to better understand how to use predictive analytics for your specific needs. Let us know. We worked with a lot of organizations who are looking to take advantage of this trend because the data is just growing. And if you want to be able to be competitive with your other organizations, this is one of the main ways to do that today. Let us know how we could help. I'm putting our email in the chat right now. So contact us at contact@beyondkey.com. And with that said, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to be able to see you on future webinars. We're going to be coming out with our schedule for next quarter soon. And if also, we'd love to be able to talk with you, free 1-hour consultation, since there's too much to do right now and just 1 hour to talk about predictive analytics, specifically about your situation, how we could help you and just improve that. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day and a better week.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks to you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.